Okay, and our next speaker is going to be Cecilia Pagan. We're going in order? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cecilia is a 41-year-old single mom who returned to college to get an accounting degree and a CCPA certification. She is currently the president of Secular Humanist Association at the University of Puerto Rico, which works on and off campus with other organizations such as the SSA, the Secular Student Alliance, FFRF, which is in the corner there, and the Secular Humanists of Puerto Rico to educate the community and defend the separation of church and state, providing a safe and inclusive place for secular students and employees. They've also worked with the Atheists of Puerto Rico to provide humanitarian help around the island.
So, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Or would you prefer?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, now you can pull it. Behind me, maybe? Yes. Okay. It's better now?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome for being here. When I first heard of secular organization in the university, I was shocked. Because it was in a bulletin board inside of the university. So I was attending a French something of one of my friends, and I stopped everything and I went and took a picture of it because he had information there. Then I went to look for them on Facebook, and I saw 238 students out of 10,000 students. There are more than 100 associations in this college, but this one had 238 members. And I said, how can this be going on without me noticing? There was a movement that I wasn't aware of, and they were not afraid, and they were not, being apologists about it. So I tried to contact them, but since I wasn't a student back then, it was a little difficult. And that, with that search I did, I found out about the bigger one, the Humanists of Puerto Rico. Then I started following them and stuff, and then the hurricane came. So I got in contact with other people, and then I started to study. When I started to study, I was already part of the association because I was helping them with the tabling stuff and moving chairs or whatever I could do to help them, because out of the 238 students in the organization, only 2 were working. And I think that is the biggest challenge that every organization has. They have members who are ghosts. And I understand that sometimes it's a little bit scary for some people to get involved, but there are many ways to get involved and to help. You can help with your time, you can help with your knowledge. If you can come with me and paint a bulletin, that's fine. If you can come and invite people to one of my talks, that will be fine. And you can do all of that anonymously. You don't have to, be on pictures, you don't have to speak about it. And that is something that I've tried to talk to other organizations about it, and they all have the same problem. They have 10,000 members, but only 100 show up. And what we try to do in college is that we try to provide a safe place, since it's a university of the state. But often, everything you see is a religious thing. Out of the 100 student organizations in college, 23 are religious ones. And those are that has the room full of people. They give free food. They have these huge meetings inside, and that is what you see all of the time. all of the time, because somehow people feel that if they help them and if they see you with them, that makes you a better person. It's like a card. I belong to this organization, and somehow that people will continue. That is something that I think that needs to change. Like, for instance, I had a professor who's a friend of mine and was helping us to get the permits, to get chairs and to get tables to do our stuff, but she wanted to be anonymous because she was not permanent. And she would tell me, I need to be like silent and about it until I am a permanent. Once she was a permanent professor, she took the opportunity last March. Like it was APS coming out of the closet day, and she made a video and posted on Facebook with her family. And that is what I consider to be, we need to get rid of that. Why would a person need to hide or be someone they're not? That's because we are not encouraging each other. That's because we are in the closet ourselves. And we need to make atheism like something normal by living it. And I came to see that there are people who need to help you and people that care if you are willing to give them the opportunity. Because some people come to me and tell me, I cannot be there because I cannot be seen, but I can help you run over the chairs. And that also counts. Because dragging all of this stuff yourself is hard. I've done it several times. If you have an idea, you can bring it to someone. Ideas are phenomenal. And you don't know if they're gonna work until you do it, until you try. If you see something that's been, maybe it's been done for a lot of time, like we had a breakfast in the university that has been done for 40 years. But it was from a religious organization, and the dean was the one who invited the students. So they were using the platform of the university to invite the students. So the students somehow felt compelled because it was the dean. But it wasn't supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be the student organization that invites the students. It has to be done differently. And we went into a lot of trouble trying to make them understand that you cannot use the university platform to invite to a religious event inside of college. I have no problem with them having their stuff, but don't use the platform of the university to invite the students. And it might look like an irrelevant thing, but a lot of things that we think are irrelevant are not. I was in the closet until maybe 3 years ago. I was always vocal about my disagreement with religious organizations, because I was always pointing out what was wrong and the contradictions and all of the people trying, for instance, right now in my country, they're trying to mess up with the law and trying to make like limited abortions, but that's just the beginning. If you turn a blind eye to that, it will get worse and worse so it's better to address things when you see them and not let them grow. Right now, we have gone through a period of everyone is on their own because of the huge event that the hurricane was. I'm sorry. But also, I think that it kind of unites us in a way, because I saw some organizations that it's the same group. It doesn't matter if Black non-believers or from Utah or from New York, it's the same group. It doesn't matter the name. We are the same people. And when the hurricane came, I saw that. And they told me, these two organizations are not going to work together because they had problems in the past. Well, we had to overlook that. We had to forget about it, and we had to work together because our goal is the same. So I just want you to encourage you to help the secular and the non-believers and the atheist organizations that you have near you in any way that you can, because we have to make this a normal thing. Because we need, in my belief, I think we are more than 12%. We are, because I see it every day. Maybe in older generations, it's not. That if you see people underneath 40, if you see these kids in college, you will notice that it's more because they are our children. And my daughter is 20, and her friends, even though they go to church and everything, you see that they're way different from my generation. So it makes me wonder how their kids are going to be. So right now I think we have at least 23-25% of non-believers, or people who are not affiliated to any religion. So I think that in 15 to 20 years, it's going to be about 35%. And what we need is to go outside and to help people who are struggling to get out of the closet, maybe because they are scared of, they don't know how to defend themselves. I have found people that does not, well, they tell me, but I don't know how to speak. But you need to learn. You watch some videos, educate yourself with simple things, because we're not lying. We're not lying, we're just saying what we think and what we see. And that way, people will see us more and more, and it will become the normality. So I will encourage you to help in every way, wherever you can, to the organization close to you, and maybe not close to you, but by bringing ideas, giving them your time, and if you have a talent, that way you can help us all.
Cecilia. Next is Liz Ross. Liz joined Black Skeptics Los Angeles in 2012, and BSLA provides a space for Black secular humanists to participate in secular community organizing, outreach, and social justice. Initiatives such as the First in the Family Scholarships for at-risk youth of color. A former police officer turned criminal justice reform advocate, Liz raises awareness about the history and problem of our criminal justice system through presentations and volunteering. She volunteers for organizations like BSLA and a New Way of Life Reentry Project. Liz Ross is also a food justice advocate and co-founder of Vegan Advocacy Initiative, an animal welfare and food justice organization. VAI organized the first of its kind conferences called People of Color, Animal Rights, and Food Justice Conference to address the need for vegan activists of color to create their own spaces to talk about their work, engage, motivate, and network. Her organization also participates in edible garden projects and offers presentations to raise awareness about how our food choices impact human health, animals, and our environment. Liz studied ecological horticulture and food justice on a 30-acre farm at UC Santa Cruz, and she studied permaculture design at the Occidental Arts and Ecology Center and holds a BS degree from James Madison University.
Hi everyone. How much time? 10 to 15?
12. Yeah.
So I think this is a good segue from what Cecilia talked about with regards to the importance of communities getting together and supporting each other. You know, so I'm going to read through some stuff since we have a limited amount of time, but I just want you all to know that tomorrow we also have a similar panel like this. We're just going to continue the conversation, and it's going to be with Cecilia and me. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's going to I would like that maybe we can have more of a discussion on how to organize and the do's and don'ts on how to start grassroots organizing. I have been an atheist for over 20 years. Two things initiated my inquiry into research on the Bible. One was reconciling between the claim of an omniscient and omnipotent God, which in this case was the Judeo-Christian Islamic God, and the reality of senseless suffering and violence on the planet. And the other was exploring my sexual expression. And I would say that the two most influential writers for me at that time was Bart Ehrman. He's a professor in theology, and of course the well-known Richard Dawkins, two white men. And I have to say that these men well prepared me for the rebuttals to debate about the existence of supernatural beings. Issues around church and state and the God debate is great, but over time I became drawn to Sikivu Hutchinson's work because she engages in ongoing critical analysis of popular culture, politics, and current events through a secular humanist lens as it relates to white supremacist capitalist patriarchy from the perspective of a black feminist woman. That kind of work to me was very stimulating, and it was the continuation of the critical thinking and self-evaluation that I was already working on prior to coming to Los Angeles. As we all know, the desire for fairness and justice does not require a belief in an invisible entity. We can be good without God. So why I connected with Black Skeptics LA, when I moved to LA in September of 2011, the first thing I did was go on meetup.com to look for Black Atheists, and that's where I found Black Skeptics Los Angeles. I already knew about Sikivu from her blogs and talks on YouTube, and I was also part of an online research questionnaire that she had sent out, and what was nice was that I was actually quoted in her first book, Moral Combat. Check it out, page 248. So I was really excited to check out BSLA, knowing that Sikivu was the founder, unbeknownst to her. So about BSLA. BSLA was founded by Sikivu in March of 2011. Her intention was to create a space for Black folks who identify as atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and secular humanists to facilitate a need to have that interpersonal connection that we weren't getting on social media, which at that time was really building. So that person-to-person connection was important in Los Angeles, and I assume in other places, because of course Black and brown communities are steeped in that hyper-religiosity. We established a year later 501c3 status in 2012 with about 10 core members, including myself, who consistently showed up. And we developed the mission and the activities, the projects that were in alignment with Sikivu's vision for BSLA. Teamwork here was important, so we all teamed up with certain things. So for example, I worked on the website with the web designer and Sikivu. I also worked on the brochures, which we have a few outside that I encourage everyone to take up. And also I co-led the book club. So, and I'm part of the First in the Family Scholarship Committee, which I'm going to talk about. What I really liked about it, in addition to all the activities that we did, were the friendships that we created. And like, for example, many of us actually work in partnerships. So for example, I have one guy, he is my CPA. I had a conference a few years ago and some of the members came and helped me out. Just things like that. So it's an ongoing, what I call camaraderie. So what kinds of activities did we engage in? We have the First in the Family Scholarship Fund, which is very rewarding. The purpose of this scholarship is to provide youth who have had to deal with challenges from the systemic problems in society. Every year we offer 1,000 scholarships and 2,500 scholarships to youth of color who are generally the first in the family to attend college, and also either undocumented, homeless, LGBTQ, or system involved, such as foster care. And these are youth of color. Some of our scholarships are awarded to the LAUSD students, which is the LA County student base. And thanks to the generous donation of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Catherine Faringer Memorial Scholarship Fund, we also provide scholarships to youth who identify as atheist, agnostic, and secular, and are of color. And this year we actually got an additional scholarship from an individual from the Freedom from Religion Fund, in which now we even have additional funds to offer scholarships, which is great. And just a shout out, I'm deeply grateful to all the support we've had with this scholarship, and it is fantastic. So the applicants, they submit required documents, including an essay about, which is contextualized about humanism and giving back, and about their lives. And I would say that it is challenging and heart-wrenching sometimes to hear the stories of people of color who are secular or just generally in this situation at risk. It's, you know, when we hear this, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe that you have to deal with all this baggage, and in addition to that, you're actually doing volunteer work in high school and you're keeping up your good grades. So it's a challenge to select winners, and needless to say, I would say that they're all winners. So let's, Sikibu, do you want to show the First in the Family Scholarship video?
In 2013, Black Skeptics Los Angeles spearheaded its First in the Family Humanist Scholarship Initiative, which focuses on providing resources to undocumented foster care, homes, and LGBTQI youth who will be the first in their families to go to college. Responding directly to the school-to-prison pipeline crisis in communities of color, DSLA is the first atheist organization to specifically address college pipelining for youth of color, with an explicitly anti-racist, multicultural emphasis. Since 2013, we've also offered scholarships to secular, humanist, skeptic, atheist, and agnostic young people of color, and now have provided scholarships to nearly 40 youth from across the nation.
The scholarship has definitely allowed me to focus on my academics rather than my finances. It has allowed me to really push my pen and think critically about the things that are going on in the world today. This scholarship has really allowed me to achieve my academic dreams and continue to strive to become a professor and to push students like myself and in my community to achieve a higher education.
Thank you, Black Skeptics of Los Angeles, for awarding me the Catherine Faringer Scholarship Award. I'm happy and proud to be a part of a distinguished group of individuals. I'm also someone that believes that you get out of life what you put in, and with the help of the Black Skeptics Society of Los Angeles, I intend to give my time and energy to humanitarian efforts throughout my life. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Destiny Jones. I graduated from the Mississippi School for Math and Science in May of 2018. I really like that Black Skeptics Los Angeles is an organization that recognizes Black non-believers, because I think a lot of people don't believe that a person can be Black and non-religious at the same time. I'm ready to see Black people stop relying on fables and ancient texts to better their situation and start using logic and secular reasoning to better their lives and the world around them. Hopefully I can be someone that essentially helps in achieving that.
So this is why we have to do what we're doing. These are secular students. These are high school students. And they need to see us visible. They need to see us doing social justice work. They need to see us doing the work that, guess who's doing it in their communities? It's the religious organizations who's doing it in their communities. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I am doing. The other thing we have is we are fiscal sponsors for the Women's Leadership Project, which is primarily run by Sikibu Hutchinson through the LAUSD system in which she works. The Women's Leadership Project is a feminist of color mentoring, civic engagement, and service learning advocacy program designed to educate and train young middle and high school age women of color in South Los Angeles to take ownership of their school communities. We're working in 4 schools, or Sikibu is working in 4 schools, and about 15 students per school. The content of the curriculum is based on a system that includes self-care, how to deal with issues of sexual harassment, health education, teamwork projects, writing exercises, discussions on how women are represented in popular culture, networking, becoming knowledgeable about Black writers and discussing them. They have field trips. They facilitate women's leadership conferences, go to museums, watch documentaries, and so on. Last year, they had the Future in Feminism conference, which was amazing. I mean, seeing these youth, you know, just having that agency to collaborate, organize, and do work is amazing. So let's watch another video, and this one is focusing on them talking and discussing, I would say, rape culture in general, sexual harassment.
Okay. But before we do the video, those of you that are participating in the Freedom from Religion survey, you're going to have to go over to the small conference room to the right. Okay, great. The focus group, yes. And we have actually more time for this panel until like 11:45.
Okay.
Thanks.
If you think there is a connection between the way that Black women and women of color are treated and negative media representations of women of color, step forward.
The Step Up, Step Back campaign is designed to increase awareness. So we are having our young people participate in social media campaigns, writing poems and other reflections about their experiences with sexual harassment.
We partnered with Women's Leadership Project to create the Step Forward campaign. The goal of the campaign is to engage school communities, including young Black men, to create a safer environment for young Black women to thrive in. I would say the most surprising and unsurprising thing that I heard from the girls that we work with is that sexual harassment was a daily occurrence.
Well, sexual harassment to me is tearing down anyone really, like physically by touching, mentally by calling them names.
Even a stare, because that's what makes me feel uncomfortable. If I were to talk about you in a way that's not uplifting.
If you're walking down the street and a man yells across the street, "Hey, what's up, baby?" Like, you know, just walking with like my best friend and I. So I have this straight face, like, don't talk to me, don't try anything. And I tell her to keep walking as well.
I usually don't walk down the street by myself. I would always take, a friend or be with my mom or even my brother.
Well, there are always the extreme versions as far as catcalling and, touching someone without their permission. But in a lot of relationships, people feel that those lines are blurred at that point. And so say the girlfriend doesn't want to talk to him and he'll still pull her, he'll still fill on her parts because he feels that that's his girlfriend, that's his right or his property. And it's still sexual harassment because she's not a willing participant in that action.
So the Women's Leadership Project is a program for African American and Latina young women. It's based in South LA. It's a civic engagement, feminist mentoring and advocacy program.
I would hope that the people who see this campaign recognize that this is an issue that we need to address immediately. This is an issue that we need to organize around.
So I had to find the courage in myself to say it's not okay. I have to stand up for myself, to stand up for my own rights because I am a human and I have equal rights just as everyone else. And so I had to stand up and tell someone about this so that this situation can stop and so that I could start feeling better about myself. You're more than just a sexual object. To know that you are a human being, you're a woman. and that it's not okay for men or just anyone to objectify you or just touch you physically however they please and whenever they please. It's not okay for that.
So the main thing I want to get across is that we are actually evaluating this and processing this through a secular, humanist, social justice lens. And it's important for us to articulate that and articulate why secular social justice humanism is important. One more minute. I'm going to go through this more tomorrow, but I just want to list some of the other things we do as a community in Black Skeptics Los Angeles. We have discussion panels. One included Models of Pride panel, which is basically youth who get together once a year at the USC system. And the idea is to us adults to have workshops with them to encourage them to do social justice stuff. So we did one on atheism, what it means to be an atheist, agnostic, free thinker, and that was fantastic. We've had other panels as well, including with church groups discussing issues of social justice. We had a book club in which I co-led, and that was amazing, which I'll talk about later. This conference and others we've been part of. And also, we have fun. We get together for the Day of Solidarity for Black non-believers. We get together, we have our solstice party, we have potlucks. A few of us get together we went to see Angelique Kidjo and other performers. So it's part social justice and it's part having fun. And this is why my work and the work of Sikivu and the work of Black Skeptics Los Angeles is very important, and the support we get is very important. So my intention is hopefully to encourage people to start their own grassroots organization. It doesn't have to be a 501c3, and get people together because it's extremely rewarding. Thank you.
Next up is Katarina. She's a third-year undergraduate student at UC Berkeley, majoring in sociology and African American studies. Katarina is the lead organizer for the Berkeley Freethinkers and Humanists, formerly SSA Berkeley, the sole secular-oriented group among 1,200 student organizations. Katarina has led training and development efforts for the prevention of sexual violence and harassment on campus, and has widely contributed to initiatives for the recruitment, yield, and retention of underrepresented students.
Hello everyone, thank you so much Sikivu for the introduction. I am Katarina. I prefer she or they pronouns, and as Sikivu said, I'm a third-year undergraduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. So for those folks who do not know, the University of California, Berkeley is situated in the San Francisco Bay Area. And there, I organize with a free-thinking humanist group that is affiliated with the ever-so-supportive Secular Student Alliance organization. Kevin, I don't want to put you on the spot, but Kevin is sitting right here in the back row. He is the main organizer, and thank you so much for all your support. So at UC Berkeley, I am very proudly a part of the Veve Clark Institute for Engaged Scholars, which is through the African American Studies Department. And next fall of 2020, I plan to apply to doctoral programs in sociology. So thank you all so much for having me. Thank you to my dad for accompanying me. And I want to recognize and extend appreciation to the indigenous Peoria folks who once occupied this land that we are currently sharing space on. So a little bit about me. Geographically, I was born in Boston. I moved around in the East Coast before finally settling in the Midwest with my family, which was the site of most of my formative years. From second grade to my sophomore year of high school, I lived in suburbs outside of St. Louis called Chesterfield in Missouri. A little intellectual autobiography. I was always very curious and studious as a student. In the second grade, my teacher invited me to apply and take an exam for a talented and gifted program in which students would attend an off-site school called the Center for Creative Learning once a week. I was really excited. I was like, wow, she recognized some type of potential in me. And I took the exam and did not pass. It was a basic IQ exam. It was a bunch of triangles, numbers, word problems, logic puzzles, and whatnot, and I didn't pass. And I was upset because I was told that students are only allowed to take this entrance exam every 3 years. So I was like, shit, like, I guess I'm just gonna be with these students for the rest of my tenure. That's cool. I really wanted to go to this prestigious other place that I see some of my peers who I felt were the most like-minded to me going to. And that place of upset that I was in quickly turned around when my mom told me, oh hey, you get to take the test again. The administrators just told me, because they had a little affirmative action thing in place where, because my father, who is African American, I could take the test again in that same week. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, I didn't really know a lot about race then, but I did get somewhat of a parallel education in critical race theory, I would say, growing up in the suburbs of Missouri, as my multiracial sister and I were constantly faced with some very vile remarks about my dad. And, to name a few, your dad is scary, has your dad been to jail? My father reminded me, I invited him to an event in Berkeley a couple months ago. He said, Katarina, should I wear a suit? When you were a little girl, you used to tell me to wear a suit when I came to your elementary school field trips. And that was, you know, my internalized anti-blackness of knowing that when black folks and people of color are dressed up, it's more respectable and they're seen as more intelligent and at the likes of white folks. So, you know, that's a little tangent there. But I got into the program and I loved it. I was taking classes and I wrote and did research projects on topics like global warming, African American poetry, that's when I first heard the name Maya Angelou, space exploration, marine life, etc. And at this school they imported problem solving and themes of critical thinking. Okay, so simultaneously, I attended a Lutheran church with my parents. I was baptized, etc. And by the 8th grade, back to my school historical development, I was researching universities, and I saw that most of the top programs that I was interested in were housed at UC Berkeley. I didn't know what Berkeley was, but because I had this very competitive intellectual fervor, I wanted to just be at the top program. I looked at videos, I was like, I like Berkeley, and this was me in the 8th grade. At the same time in the 8th grade, I was going through the confirmation process in the Lutheran church, which involved me attending a youth group with other women of my same age. Mind you, these were all white women. And I also attended a night class where they, taught us in depth. We studied the 10 Commandments, the Apostles' Creed, the Lord's Prayer, etc. And they tried to relate all of that catechism, I think is what it's formally called, to my everyday life as a budding young woman. Sorry. And so, I want to read a quick quote from my statement of faith. So the statement of faith was the final part of this 8th grade course that I was going through. And after the confirmation, which happened around Easter, confirmation for folks who don't know, it's I would call it a cult initiation, in which after I go through it, I get to underage drink a sip of wine and taste a stale wafer. So I had to write the statement of faith, and I just kept putting it off. For me, it was intellectually dishonest. I don't believe genuinely in any of this, but here I go. I turned it in late, the last second I possibly could, and I'm going to read a quick little section. This is from April 22nd, 2013. I said, ever since I was young, April 23rd, 2013. Ever since I was young, my parents have always instilled Christian values and brought me to a Lutheran church every Sunday. In elementary school, I was routine in prayer and had a lengthy verse I would recite in my head each night. As I grew through the years and absorbed my surroundings, I felt more distant in my relationship with Christ. I wrote, thankfully that has changed. However, I do not desire to write a cliche statement. I'd rather tell the truth. I go on to say, personally, I felt as if the sermons in church went in one ear and out another. I sat and listened, but never fully took time to comprehend what exactly the pastor was preaching. Most young people follow this pattern too. This is me at 13 years old. It bothered me because I didn't know why I was considered a Christian by solely attending. I knew that faith was important. However, I was baffled knowing that you are the religion we're born into. Therefore, I did not understand how my friends' different religions could be deemed incorrect when he or she was raised to believe her faith the same way I was mine. Excerpt from that. So, my group leader, Ms. Hetzler, replied to that email in so many words saying, "Thank you, Katarina. If all the folks in our youth group sent their statements anonymously to me, I would know this one was yours. And you challenged me these past 2 years and helped my faith grow," etc. So after I got confirmed, I refused to take communion. I would get some glares from my mom every single day when I was the only one sitting in the pew. I wouldn't stand up for the songs. And I would call myself, I think at that time in middle school I was politically atheist, meaning I didn't really know whether I was agnostic or atheist, but because I felt like I was the only one in the slew of white, privileged, conservative middle schoolers in Chesterfield, Missouri, that I was the only one questioning things, so I might as well just go for the more extreme one. Okay, so cosmically, my family relocated to the East Bay my sophomore year of high school. I was closer to Berkeley. We lived in San Ramon, California, which is about 25 miles from the school that I desperately wanted to attend. I went to a new church, non-denominational this time, and at 16 years old, I asked my parents each Sunday morning to let me stay home. I bought The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins in high school, and I remember taking it with me to the gym and not getting very far, because despite having a recognized level of reading proficiency, I felt that the text was not accessible to me. I did not relate to the scientific way, nature in which he wrote, and this clearly is not written for me. My senior year of high school was during the time of the past presidential election, and in this high school there was 3,400 students. It's in Danville, California, Monte Vista High School. Less than 1% of the students identified as black in that school. So within the heightened climate of the election, we had folks wearing MAGA hats and a slew of racist vandalisms, including a student writing the words "colored" and "white" on the walls on top of bathroom stalls. The principal held an assembly. My sister, me, and my friend Sydney got up and spoke. And following that, I reinstated the Black Student Union, looking as I do, and co-led with my friends, and partnered with the Gender Sexuality Alliance at that school, and had the first annual Identity Summit at Monte Vista, where folks whose voices were so marginalized could finally have a chance to tell their stories. Okay, so thank you. Spring, I don't have much time, unfortunately. Spring of 2017, I came to Berkeley. I got into Berkeley, I was excited. I got into this program that was supposed to give underrepresented students a head start. So June of 2017, a month after graduating, I was already on campus taking 2 college classes. And I quickly learned that Berkeley was the mecca for the recruitment by religious fundamentalists. If you've ever been to Berkeley, you would see what I'm talking about. All the time, I'm offered pocket Bibles on campus. There's rabbis, there's white people asking me if I want to learn about yoga. Okay, I'm being told I have 1 minute, and I haven't even talked about my organization yet, so how do I skip?
It's great, your story there is great.
So I went to, okay. And also in Berkeley, to give you a situation of the demographics of the students, there's about 30,000 undergraduates, and only 1.9% identify as black, half of which are recruited student athletes. I went to Black Student Orientation following that summer, and it's a secular, event hosted by an office of the school, and was told that black healing involved Jesus and Bible studies, etc. They held community prayers. I was like, wow, I'm already being asked, what am I? And now I'm feeling isolated in my ideologies as well. Okay, so in the academy, my second semester at UC Berkeley, one of my professors, Dr. Stephen Small, who I now work with, was very open about his atheism. This inspired me. I became his research assistant, and outside the academy, I met someone named Marianne Almero, who in the fall of 2017 founded the Secular Student Alliance at Berkeley, the only organization focused on secular students out of the 1,200 groups on campus. When I first saw the Black Non-Believers pamphlet at our SSA table, I was shocked. I was like, there's black atheists? What? What? I went to SSA Con in Ohio State, summer of 2018, and I met Mandisa Thomas. We brought Mandisa out November of 2018 to speak on our campus, Fear of a Black Atheist, How Religion Crippled the Black Community. I spread the event widely, including within the circles of the black community on campus, and black students who marked going on my Facebook event were harassed. Why are you going to Katarina's event? Personally, I've been harassed as well. Folks questioning my blackness, how can you speak on things, etc., etc. In my courses, I learned about the histories of the people of the African diaspora and the pillage and plundering of colonialism that enforced the capitalist, race-making, patriarchal ideas on the minds and bodies of my ancestors. So I quickly differentiated myself between the other black student activists on campus because I understood that ideologies and notions of race and gender are colonial ones. So the black community was not talking about sexual violence. They weren't talking about the unchecked violence in the fraternities and sorority systems that maintains power within white capitalist communities and funnels folks to be in high positions of power in our government. Read Brett Kavanaugh. Definitely not black. Okay,
so we're going to have to wrap up, unfortunately, and then maybe get a couple questions from you.
Can I have one more minute to wrap up? Okay, thank you. So Marianne graduated last spring semester, and one issue my group constantly had is we weren't getting enough attendance. So I'm like, we need to go back to the drawing board, change our name, Berkeley Freethinkers and Humanists. I did not want to imitate the hierarchical organization of bureaucracy, so I'm like, I'm not going to be president, y'all. We're all the organizers. We're all busy students. Let's just share the capacity of the work and see what we can get done. We partnered with Students United for Reproductive Justice. Shout out Noel Jones. And they just passed an assembly bill with the state of California to get abortion care on campus. We hold climate justice screenings. We've had Victor Harris out for an atheist poetry and spoken word event. A bystander intervention training for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. In Black History Month, we always feature black speakers weekly on our social media, something that a lot of atheist orgs that have a lot more history do not do. Ask an Atheist Day, etc. So to wrap up, I'm still trying to bridge the gaps in a lot of activism and encourage folks to employ a decolonial framework, because I think it starts in the mind. People make ideas, people made religion, people made white supremacy. And I want to thank Sikivu, Bree, Mandisa for all the work you do to help young black girls like me know and be able to articulate our oppression, because I cannot relate to the works of Richard Dawkins. So to end, I want to quote Baby Mother, who is known as the self-proclaimed Antichrist of female rap. In her song, Heavenly Little Bastard, Baby Mother says, "Is there a heaven for a bastard? I go to church, but only if I fuck the pastor. I eat the pussy in the motherfucking queue. Give a fuck about what you do. Fuck that book and fuck you. Only motherfucking God can judge me." Thank you.
questions at any time? No? No time, okay.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Yeah,
Don't forget, we also have the same panel tomorrow, so we can elaborate more on things.